Goal of these calls is to bring folks together, to share that knowledge and to learn, oh, if I have a question, this is someone I can reach out to get more information. So I personally have been thrilled running these calls so far. So Amanda, if you've got a certification question, pop it in the chat and we'll see if there's someone on the call who can answer it. Why don't we kick off, V? Let's just have a look who is here on the call. Hi, Charles. Thank you for joining as well. So why don't we, for this time, because we've got a few new folks, why don't we introduce the three of us just quickly, and then we can jump into some of the topics we want to talk about, and then we can go over to the speakers for the day. So why don't I start first? I am Lydia. I work for Microsoft. I'm in the business applications engineering group in a storytelling and community role. So storytelling is creating a ton of videos and social media content that gets shared out at physical events, online events, social media, customer specific engagements. And then I also work on the community side, and I work with Dwayne and Alistair, who we've introduced on previous calls, who do a fantastic job running our social media for Dynamics 365 community and Power Platform community. And I work with them on social media content, and I run this call series. A little bit of background, I used to be a seller. So I was a technical seller in England and now moved here 7 or 8 years ago and have been doing lots of storytelling and community work ever since. V, do you want to go ahead?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Similar to Lydia, I also have two roles. On one side, I am a storyteller / evangelist for our customer experience application. So that counts as D365 sales, customer insights, and service. And on the community side, I take the lead of our MVP program for Biz Apps, as well as the user group leader side. I work very closely with Rachel York, who should be on the chat. So if you are in one of those communities, say hello to me. And background for me, I started my career in Dynamics 365 in the partner space. So I worked at Power Objects when there were only 40 employees, and then moved on to Microsoft, was a technical seller at first in the healthcare team, and then switched over to this team. So very nice to meet you all.
Thanks, V. So Vandana goes by Vandana and also V. So if you hear us reference Vandana as V, that's why. Charles, do you want to give a quick intro?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Drayton. I work with both Lydia and Vandana, and similar to them, I have two roles. On the community side, my role is the director of the forums. So if you are a forum user, super user, user group leader, then you've probably worked with me before. And I'm leading the initiatives to continue evolving both of the platforms. And my other role is I am the product manager as part of a couple of groups. One of them is BET, which is the Business and Industry Co-Pilot Emerging Technology. If you're familiar with the frontline applications such as field service, that's me. And the other one is Copilot apps. So Copilot apps are all of the Copilot 4s as distinct from Copilot in. So Copilot for sales, Copilot for service, Copilot for ERP. Those are both areas that I cover, and I work with the product teams on delivering the content for you for the various types of events that we all host.
Thanks, Charles. Awesome. Just wanted to say thanks to everyone who's answering questions about the certification in the chat. I love just all this knowledge. Everyone helps each other out. So thank you, everyone who's able to give Amanda some great tips. So let's talk about the agenda for today. So the three evangelists, Charles, V, and I, at the beginning of each call, cover some different content that we want to get out to you. And then we have two guests. So we're going to hear from Bülent, who is going to do an awesome Copilot Studio in a nutshell session. And then V has actually been working with different nonprofits. October is Give Month. It's the charity month at Microsoft, where lots of efforts come together to raise money and dedicate time to nonprofits. And we thought, what a great idea to bring in some of the Biz Apps nonprofits to share a bit about what they do and how we can all get involved. So to start off with, Charles, we've got a couple of topics we want to cover, and then we'll hand over to the speakers. Charles, do you want to talk a little bit about PPCC?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, thank you everybody who attended PPCC this year. If you didn't attend this year, we look forward to seeing you next year. It was an amazing event. If you are a super user or an MVP, I give you a second round of gratitude because you had a number of specific events for MVPs and super users. MVPs had a number of showcases. We had about 12 MVP showcases total, and each one had about 11 attendees on average. So really, really happy to see the turnout in the lounge there. And the big news is the Ask a Super User. It was our first year doing it. It was something we didn't really know what to expect. It was like one of those like ask me anything type things where we had super users, staff a booth, and people would just kind of walk up to them. And I think we had it in our heads that they would walk up and say, how do you become a super user? What's it like being a super user? Any suggestions on what I can do to become a super user? Instead, it was like, my flow is broken. Can you help me fix it? And at one point, we had like a line of 40 people in. So I owe you a debt of gratitude, super users. We had about 27 shifts officially. And then when people saw how long the lines were getting, we had 13 additional shifts just from people kind of randomly walking up saying, I'm a super user, like I can take a question. So it was an amazing experience. It was a great way to almost get like live solve, like like consulting on the spot. So it was very, very cool. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely join the forum where you can interact with these super users, become a super user yourself, and then come back next year and you can work with the super users to solve all kinds of fun problems. So thank you again to everyone, and I hope you enjoy your mugs.
Thanks, Charles. I know from my days of working in booths at conferences, you're like, who's going to come up and what question are they going to ask? And am I going to be able to answer it? So sounds like everyone did an awesome job.
Yeah, it was
Before we
wild.
move,
I loved it.
before we move on, I'm just going to play a little video. We've got a 1 minute, really cute summary community video from the conference that I thought it'd be nice for folks to see. Please shout out if you can't hear the sound. I could watch Microsoft videos all day, every day. I love the music. I love the amazing quotes they get from people, and so awesome.
And
Okay, a
did you
couple
see
of
that super user line? It was crazy.
Okay, a couple of other things. V, you wanted to talk about nonprofits to highlight in October in general. Go ahead.
Yeah, do you want me to? Oh, in general. So
Yeah.
October is the month at Microsoft, particularly. We call it a give month. We focus on nonprofits overall. Microsoft has a great matching program. So during that time, people collectively volunteer. And so we wanted to use that opportunity to also bring it out for the overall community as well. And so today we wanted to focus on a few organizations / individuals who've been doing a lot in our community, particularly trying to empower people to have a career path using our technology. And so we'll focus on 3 different organizations in this call later today. Through that, I hope you get a chance first to know them. And if you were looking for opportunities to volunteer, those would be great organizations to volunteer for, as well as donate. And in this call, you learn how you can get more involved. So
thanks. Is there an ask for folks to highlight other nonprofits that they're engaged with for social media?
In addition to that, thank you. Lydia is always there to remind me of things. One of the things we also want to do is we do want to start the tradition of highlighting different community individuals who are doing a lot in, to make this world a better place, but particularly with our technology. So if you know of anyone or organizations that are out there doing so, please let us know. We want to continue highlighting them because we want to encourage this. And so if you know of any, either message us here or email us or even reach out to us on our LinkedIn pages. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, any nonprofits that you're working with that you think are awesome that should be called out that are in the BizApp space, please drop them in the chat and or reach out to us on social media. Okay, last thing we want to talk about before we jump into Bülent's session is business applications launch event. I don't know if that's an event that you're all familiar with. It's an event Microsoft runs twice a year. It's a virtual event. It's free to sign up. Putting the link in the chat now. And it's basically an opportunity for Microsoft to share what's coming in the next release wave. So if you join, you'll see it's about an hour long. It's broadcast virtually. It's going to be broadcast at the end of October. And how it works is we'll go through different rooms of the house and we'll show demos of some of the new features through the lens of some existing customers. So really awesome to see some real life use cases of how these new features can be used. So please join us. As I said, the link is in the chat to register. And you'll be able to watch it live, and you'll also be able to watch it on demand as well. So if you can't make that specific time, it will be available on social media. Yeah, exactly, Alison. So you'll be able to watch it back. And then it will ultimately end up on YouTube as well, forevermore. So it's not going to go away while you're on vacation. Okay, thank you so much. Let's go over to our first speaker. I have granted you access to be able to present, so you should just be able to take over presenting, Bülent.
That's awesome. So thank you very much. Let me try my chance. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Very good. So thank you very much for having me today. Today's session is about Copilot Studio. So this is my often when you see me active on LinkedIn, then you will know why I'm just saying that. So before we start, one of the question, who am I? So I have a quite history here already. So the first time when I was in the very first CRM community call, I just said to Charles, oh, wow, that's a super cool e-guitar that you have to the back. And he just answered back, that's not an e-guitar. So bummer. So I've already made, my point here. In the second call, then there was with Dan Taylor, amongst others. And then I was so fast with my keyboard, but unfortunately I have just mistyped her name. She just like, hey, who's fair? And I just want to meet her. So you see, I have a quiet history. The third time was on vacation, though nothing could happen then in that case. So I was on the safe side. But if you're interested, who I am, so I'm Bülent Altinsoy. I'm based here in Germany. My parents come from Turkey, but I've been here born and raised and live here since ever. And from Microsoft perspective, I'm MCT since 2021, and I'm terrorizing in my courses at everyone and teaching everyone about everything about Power Platform, but also CRM and also now Copilot Studio as well. In my company at Evanade, I'm a global business application portfolio lead. That means I'm handling everything what has to do with trainings in CRM and ERP and Power Platform. So we're just having a strategic way of teaching our folks there. And since beginning of this year, I'm also a community contributor. So thanks to Angelique Bazzoao, who just made me come to this, and then I just started my journey here as well. I'm speaking now, as you can hear, and I'm also starting blogging, that Aloha guy. So why I'm saying Aloha, because I had some wonderful moments a couple of years ago at Hawaii, and I got in love in that island. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel as well, but you see more content from me on LinkedIn. So now let's talk about this. So the multi-works exist. I promise you a marvelous experience today. But wait a second, no. The multi-data works exist, because this is some kind of, if you're speaking the CRM language, and obviously we need just to do this. So the topic today is co-pilots, obviously. And there's so many co-pilots, you don't have some kind of an overview. Every day you feel like a co-pilot just popping up in the multi-dataverse of madness. So how can we control them? There's multi-dataverses like Microsoft 65 or Dynamics 65 where all that co-pilots are placed. So how can we control them? You have to be, before we come to this, the multi-dataverse is a concept about we really know frighteningly little. That means we're in the beginning of that age of AI. That means it's everything new for us. We're experiencing every time much more about all these. So you don't need to be a pro, just to handle co-pilots, like with tools like Azure AI Studio and all that kind of stuff. You can handle that also with another tool where even a man like Thanos is just scared about that. So, and even a person like me is then able just to control co-pilots, and you see this is the most happiest picture I've just found then in my archive, just that you can see this is impossible. So if you want to control the co-pilots, let's talk about the Infinity Stones. And in which you can control them with Copilot Studio. So how can we just do this? Let me just explain that step by step. So inside of Copilot Studio, there's a power stone that gives you the power to author and extend. What does it mean? You can create custom copilots, but you can also manage and extend first-party copilots. So if you just customizing copilots like you have just did in the previous past, you just did that with topics. That was also with Power Azure Agents possible. And then you had some tools like entities, and now we have also the voice feature. Now you see Copilot Studio becoming a much more very cool tool. But this was some kind of an own process if you just talk to a client. So there was a better way, and there is a better way today with a Copilot builder. So if you start a Copilot now, you get guided by a Copilot, being asking questions how you want to just do this. So, and the topics can be enriched with so-called knowledge sources and generative answers. You need just to point only to one public website, for example. And if you just do this, then the Copilot is more or less handling everything for you. So it can be super easy now. You can also come up with actions. And these actions can be, connectors, that can be custom connectors, this can be Dataverse. So you can enrich your Copilot more and more. Speaking of actions, you can also extend your first-party copilots, like copilots for sales, for example, with actions as well, or copilot for Microsoft 65, or copilot for service. And these are also your options which you're just getting. You have some flows, some prompts, some connectors, some conversations, and based with all that kind of features, you are able to enrich your copilots very easily with low-code, no-code in Copilot Studio. Now let's talk about the soul stone. Security is the soul of every project, and you can also handle this as well. Copilots can be very chatty. It is very important that we're handling security as well, and these are our tools how we can just do this. Especially authentication and web channel security is the essence of every project and has to be considered if you want to have successful copilots. They are not that chatty and talking a lot about what you don't want to have talked about. So let's talk about the Mind Stone, underground and understand and ground. So one of the greatest features is obviously the language feature. So number one feature for Power Azure Agents over years that clients have just asked for, finally available with Copilot. So you can set your Copilot in different languages, and if you're using GTP, then obviously it's all even answering back in the language that the person is just using. So if you start a conversation in English, then it also, someone just answers back in Italian, then the answer comes back in Italian, and this is really cool. And you do have also a model understanding. So the standard natural language model is something which is built in and can be used. But what's more interesting are obviously the GPT models which are there, so which make your life much easier. And now, with a couple of weeks ago, Microsoft has even introduced now the GPT 4.0. So O stands for Omni. That means it can not only handle text, it can also handle video, it can handle images, etc. So that means our Copilot with Studio, which was only there for text, can now answer you back in that kind of sources, which makes it much more interesting. Now you have the time zone, and the time zone is to analyze, how your Copilot behaves. That means you can see how the customer satisfaction score is, the engagement, the resolution, the escalation, and the abandon rate. So these are the features which also came, with Power Visualization before. Now, the space zone is an interesting one. So we just need to get information from different spaces, right? So the developers among us will be very happy because they can then use technologies like plugins, low-code plugins, like Powdermate, like Microsoft Graph, and even the HTTP connectors to get them from various sources some inputs, which enriches your Copilot and makes everyone happy. And it's really easy to build. Last but not least, the orchestration part. So at the end, this is the reality stone. The reality is we need to publish our Copilot somewhere. And these are mostly some channels. This can be a Teams channel. This can be a website, a demo website, another website, a Power Page. In that case, this is where you, at the end, chat, more or less with a Copilot. But you can also hand off. So, this is interesting from a customer service perspective. So sometimes, the Copilot does not answer the right answers, and someone wants to speak to a real agent. In that case, you can hand off then in that case. Speaking of agents, so I think this was also during the Power Platform community conference, a big thing again. So agents is something, let's have a look now here more. So what are Copilot agents? So there is a change in terminology, and I just have, digged into LinkedIn to see who has just photographed during the conference. So there is a change in the terminology. So Copilot Studio remain Copilot Studio. Very good. Custom Copilots will now become agents or custom agents. So that was a session with Dwayne in that case. So I have to still use the old term custom Copilots because I feel, especially when talking with clients, this can be a little bit overwhelming and confusing. But I think this is, as I said, a change in terminology. Doesn't happen super now, but maybe then in the upcoming weeks and months. So what it's all about is that now everyone can now create so-called Copilot agents with an agent builder. That means this is a field service example. And then in that case, this is also Copilot Studio, which working in the back. In that case, you can just chat with your Copilot and when you want to build this. So this is a button, you just click here, create a Copilot agent, and then it just builds it. On the right side, you just see how this looks like. So this is super cool, and I think this will become really, really popular. Then in that case, what we can say now, we do have on the one side the Copilot Studio Builder agent to Copilot Studio Agent Builder for end users. So everyone now can build Copilots. And on the right side, it's more for IT and developers. So they're using the Copilot Studio platform. Now, in that case, let me just now go and show you how we can now extend Copilot for sales, for example. So in that case, let me just go to my demo environment. And here we go. So in that case, this is the normal Copilot Studio platform, which you have just seen from the previous slide. And you can just go to any of that Copilot. So this is Copilot for Microsoft, and we are just interested because we are a CRM community, more in Copilot for sales. In that case, when we're just going in here, if you want to extend this one, we just go here to Actions. In Actions, what we can do, we can now select one of these which have been already imported, or you can just import one. So I can now import some, but I already did this just to save us some time. So if you click now an action, you will see not every of that action just appears like a prompt or like the other things, the connector and flow. In that case, if you just click here on this one, you see you have then all the options. So everyone can just try this at home as well if you have a Copilot Studio there and Copilot for Sales. And then there is a demo which is called Contoso Hub. Then everyone can just see this. It's pretty simple just to configure. So if you just click this one, this more or less a click through in that case. So what you can do in the next actions is now you can enrich Copilot for Sales now step by step. So you have these kind of options. So you can have much more as enriching a CRM record summary. You can get much more on record details, etc., etc. So if you click on, for example, this one, and you click on next, mostly this is a demo which is already set. So this is super good to try it out the very first time. At the end, you just click on save, and then you can review and test. And once this is then finished, then you could publish that. I will not do the publish process because it will take a little bit longer. What you can just do is you can just select one of the connections, which I already have created before, and you can just test it, and then you're just good to go. If you go to next, then it would start with the publishing process. So I did this already to save us some time. Once you just finished, you can just click here on manage. And when you just click on manage, then obviously you need to enable this plugin, otherwise it would not be there. So now this was a little bit techy, right? So in that case, let me just go where the sales representatives really work. Let us go here. So in that case, let me just reload this page again, because I don't know how long it was, not used. In that case, if you just click on this example, so I just wrote myself because I just, I'm writing all the time myself just to have some kind of conversation. So in that case, can you please send me a meeting invite for next week? So as you can see already, Copilot for Sales just popping up on the right side. And then already now summarizing everything. So if there would be a much greater email conversation, then it would summarize obviously much more. But as you can see already, there's a lot of things currently just happening. So it just have, requesting a meeting for next week. So I will be out tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And he also, puts in, my position there at Evanate, etc., etc. So if you just scroll down, you see then more opportunity information, which I just have combined. But what you can see now additionally here is this part. So this is how we have now extended Copilot for Sales with that sample connector. So in that case, it just tells me additionally, you have 5 connections in Force Coffee and multiple stakeholders from Force Coffee, which have visited your Contoso website, etc., etc. So with that, you can give every seller much more information, from your database, which is not coming out of the box. It really depends on what kind of license you have. If you have the normal license, or if you have a premium license, with a premium license, you would see much more. As this is the trial version, we don't see that much. But in that case, with that option, you just can give sellers much more information without that they have just to change to the CRM platform and search for that. So this is the great time when if Copilot already can give that information. If you go deeper into this opportunity, then you will see much more details regarding this one. So you see then also see from this Contoso Hub, as you see, I have started that process of, publishing that. That's why now you see that double and triple in that case. Don't worry, that's not a connector issue. That's really because I just have more or less gone again and published that again. That's why you see that then double and triple. But you see additional information. So for example, automatic renewal contract. These are the person I just can contact. I don't have to go to my CRM application anymore. I just can have this information directly from here. And then I see also some information in this case as well. So one has been completed, etc., etc. So you see much more information about the purchase contract as well. Demo data, so we see the name, the same names in that case. So, but this is super interesting in that case, because with that, we leave the sellers where they really work. And this is obviously Outlook and Teams, and they don't have to go to the CRM application. Copilot helps with summarizing all that kind of information, and this is super cool. I see from a time perspective, I have still 3-4 minutes time. There's also other things which you can just do. Last week, for example, I just have presented during the Power Platform community call that currency custom Copilot, which I just have used in connection with knowledge sources. And then in that case, it starts hopefully here. Yes, here we go. This is just, I have just more or less data now from a currency platform. And then I'm just asking right away, I just want to know a little bit about the currency. What do I get for €1, for example? In that case, let me just use the most improved version of that, because then I don't have to type so much. In that case, so which currency shall we convert from the euro? So if I say, for example, US dollar, then we just learned that for $1, I'm just getting, and that can take now a little bit longer because this is data versus knowledge source, and it takes as a preview a bit longer.
Somebody posted a thing where it said my Copilot.
Okay, cool. Good. So once it is there, okay, I can't respond to that request. Good. Anyhow, but last week it definitely worked. So, and usually it would just have gave me then back a currency. So this is how you just build your custom Copilot. And in that case, these are the two things I just wanted to present today. So in that case, let me just go back to the demo. This was the demo in that case, and we are also at the very end. So thank you very much for attending for this call today. Hope you enjoyed it a little bit. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer you any question.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Such great knowledge and just a really clever way of sharing it. You won't have seen this because the chat was going wild, but there was a lot of people were saying they really loved a particular initial diagram that you shared that broke it down. So thank you very much. And as we said in the chat, this recording is going to be available on social media, and it's also the actual files are going to be available as well by Monday. So if you look out for the Dynamics 365 community LinkedIn channel, that's where you can find a copy of this to take forward with you and share the knowledge. Thank you.
Awesome.
V, I'm going to hand over to you to intro our next set of speakers.
You want to just run the slides on your side for now?
I'd love to. Yeah, let me just get them back up. It's my front doorbell as well while this loads.
Done.
Okay, we're on. So here we go.
All right. Well, I am very excited to be able to introduce these people on this call. I have personal connection to all of them by now because I did have calls with them, but I did want to start with TechFluent Academy. I think it was 2020 when we were all stuck at home and we were all looking to find ways, how do we contribute to the community overall? What can we do to help the world be better? And that's where I was at. And Liz reached out to me, and Liz and I worked at Power Objects together. And she mentioned, hey, you've been at Dynamics for a while. I'm looking to start this organization. And right before that, I had also volunteered for a program called Power Platform School. So I was really excited to be able to help out in the space of business applications, whether it was to make Dynamics 365 or Power Platform based careers open to others. On my own, I volunteer and mentor a lot of people in this space. And so TechFluent Academy made complete sense to me. And so I joined the leadership team. And my experience has been really great, but I think Liz will do a better job introducing the organization. So I'm going to hand it over to Liz. I think for Liz only has one slide, Lydia, so you want to go to that slide, and then for the rest we can hand off. Liz?
Thanks, Dee. Glad to be here today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share about TechFluent. So TechFluent is a 3-year-old nonprofit, and our mission is to help reduce income inequality across the U.S. by providing a free comprehensive mentorship and training program specifically geared to help people from underserved communities start their jobs in tech. So we do over 200 hours of training on Dynamics 365, the Power Platform, and soft skills. It is free for all of our learners. We provide laptops and necessary computer accessories because I think in the beginning, Julie was sharing how hard it is to follow along in a demo or a training if you only have one screen. So we want to make sure they're set up for success. We provide 6 months of one-on-one mentorship. We do practice capstone projects to do our best to simulate real-life consulting type of experiences from an end-to-end situation of giving them a business problem to solve, and then the graduates will design, demo a solution back to a panel of judges to get that practice. We also offer career services and work with Microsoft to provide Microsoft exam vouchers, and all of our learners get a Microsoft certification. You'll see them listed here. Most of them start with the fundamentals. Unless they already have that, then they'll go on to something more advanced. But they graduate with that certification, which helps them, of course, land their first job in the industry. So to date, we have served 150 learners. We are very proud of our 80% graduation rate. And last year we had a 60% job placement rate. And to date, 94% of our learners have been BIPOC and 65% have been women. We do have a very small staff team, so all of our training, mentorship, career services, all of that is done with volunteer support in the community. We have over 200 volunteers this year globally supporting our organization. So yeah, please reach out if you're interested in helping out. There's a lot of different ways you can get involved. You've heard it's Give Month. So you can donate on our website, but if you work for Microsoft, you can also donate through Benevity. We are set up in the Benevity portal. Sign up to hear about our 2025 volunteer opportunities. We'll need mentors, trainers, career coaches for next year. We will have 100 graduates at the end of this year that are looking for jobs. So if you are interested in, hiring someone on full-time, providing a paid internship, hiring either a part-time or full-time contractor, those are all great, work experiences for our graduates. And then the last thing is that we do also look for corporate sponsors. So companies that give a larger amount, and then there's some perks associated with that, but we will be looking for corporate sponsors for 2025 as well. So I will drop all the links in the chat of how you can go learn more about all those things, but thank you for letting me share about TechFluent, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you as volunteers if you're not already. I know there's a lot of familiar faces on the call too. So thanks, Bea.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
also want to add one thing, which is I know it's a little intimidating to do like mentorship or industry coach if you've never done it. But from my experience, I think the person you're mentoring and training or helping out will kind of guide you through that process. And honestly, you will get more out of it than they will, because they will teach you to just be able to be a better person, and also teach you a lot about how much you love your own job. Like it made me realize how grateful I am of the job I have had and the career path that I've been able to have, and be able to open that up, like that opportunity to others. So check out TechFluent Academy. And then moving next up, we have textilers. You want to go to, I think, Rachel, you'll be presenting, I believe.
Yeah,
But
and can I propose that Rachel tries to share the screen, because at least one person on the call, Ravi, is having problems viewing the screen. So maybe these next slides.
Okay, can you see my
Awesome.
slide?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Good. One thing I did want to say about textilers is that I recently met co-founders, or Rachel, and I don't want to mispronounce your name, on a call. And what I loved about it is, as a woman in tech, I think it was really hard for me to find mentors when I was looking for one. When I was stuck with something, especially in the implementation side, you're trying to figure out something, reaching out to people, like there was so much of, I think I was afraid to ask questions because I felt like, I'm not good enough. And so the fact that textilers exist is such a great thing. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so hi everyone. So we are the textilers community, and the community, okay, I think my slide is not moving, but just wait. Give me a moment. My slide is stuck, so I'm just going to reshare.
Thank you. Come on, PowerPoint.
Yeah, okay. It's still stuck, so I'm going to do that again.
We have your slides on our side too, if you want us to slide.
Yeah.
And
yeah, please share it.
Yeah, okay, let me try that.
Yeah, thank you.
And Boyne is also on the call too, right? Are you two co-presenting? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so hi everyone. So Textilers was founded in 2019 by Foyi and MJ. And how it was founded was that they were speaking at different events, and they noticed that they were the only persons, like they were the only women submitting sessions for those events. And they were like, okay, what actions can we take to resolve this? So they started a community where different people, like different women, can come together. They can practice. They can also talk about imposter syndrome or any other thing that's stopping them from submitting a session. And that was what gave birth to Textilers. And Textilers community is amazing. We have different training sections. We are not just about the technical training. We have inspirational sessions where different women from different parts of the world, they come together, they talk about their story, how they started. And also we have tech deep dive sessions where technical training on Microsoft Power Platform, Dynamics, Azure, also Microsoft Data Security. So it's amazing. And also we have career mentors who help people with answering their questions and a lot of things. Yeah, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So, and our leaders are Foyi and Jay, which are the co-founders for Textilers. We also have our mentors. We recently completed the cohort 4, which we had 4 tracks, and which we had 8 tracks. And within that cohort, it was 6 to 8 weeks, and we had so many students from different parts of the world. We had our mentors, and after the cohorts, we had professional people who were trying to like move from a different career into Microsoft business application. We also had students, so it was really, really amazing. And at the end of the cohort, they built projects. We had judges who actually talked about their projects to show them, okay, what they could improve on. And it was really, really mind-blowing to see what they could do within that 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. So hi, Foyi. You can take
Hi,
over.
Rachel. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Hello, everyone. So let's talk about our impacts. We were 4 years old this year, and we celebrated our anniversary a couple of months back. We had in the last tech deep dive cohorts, we had the graduation rate of 85%. We had over 700 applications for across the 8 tracks. And Rachel has mentioned our inspirational session. It's been amazing. Last year, we introduced our annual conference, the Evolve conference, and we had Karana coming as our keynote speaker, and we're looking to go again at the end of this month. So stay tuned. More to come on that. So these are just a few call outs that we think are just good to highlight. Our presence, number of our members, our mentors, and also we've done a total of 150 tech sessions since we started back in 2020. Now, looking at the qualitative impacts, we've seen growth in our next slide, please. We've seen growth as well, which is key. So the numbers are great, but I think the story is also important. So we've seen our members come in, do the trainings, get support with job interviews, and go for those interviews in large organizations and get employed. So that has been really great to see. We've also seen some of our mentees become mentors and then like paying it forward and then grow from mentors to MVPs. And Rachel is a great example. She's also part of our leadership team now, supporting and driving the community and giving back to the other members of the community. So that's kind of some of the highlights. I think it's also important to highlight that we have some women who are from disadvantaged communities. So like certain parts of the country where we're from, Nigeria, they have limited to no internet access. They don't have PCs, and they want to learn. So what we're able to do last year was to partner with a company there, and they'll go into the hub every Saturday when we have the tech deep dive sessions and connect from there. So you see all of them seated in one room, just listening, and then they have the desktop in the lab where they can then practice before they go home. And some of them travel a very long way to come for those sessions. So that's one of the things that gives us joy to say, even though regardless of where you're from and what resources you have access to, if you have the desire to learn how to use technology, then we feel it's our responsibility to support you to make that possible. And that was one of the things that we were able to achieve. We started achieving last year as the Textilers community. All right, so what's our ask? We would like you to support us on next slide, please. Support us in terms of volunteering. We are very conscious that everyone is so busy, so you can volunteer one-off as a speaker. on our inspirational sessions. If you want to have a deeper connection with a mentor, you can volunteer as a career mentor, where you're helping the women try and decide their career journey, supporting them in various areas. You can also mentor as a tech mentor, right? You want to talk about the technology. Tech Deep Dive is an annual event. We do it for like 6 to 8 weeks on Saturdays, 60 to 90 minutes. And we usually have 3 to 4 women mentoring in a track. So it's not too demanding because we know that weekends are really busy. And the men are welcome as well. So our community is inclusive. When we started back in 2020, we said, no, we don't want the men, don't come. But I think we're just very young and excited. But as it started to grow, we're like, yes, you can come as long as you're happy to be in a class full of girls. And we could see that the guys started to join the sessions, and they were very, very active as well. So those are the different ways you can volunteer. Those are all of our handles. We're also on the Benevity portal as Dependable Alliance of Women in Tech. So if you want to give in any way, you're welcome to give to us. And if you want to be part of our community fully, we'll be glad to have you. You can scan the QR code or use the link as well. And stay tuned for our conference coming up on the 26th of October. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. I think Rachel's going to drop the link, the URLs in the chat. That was so awesome. It's some amazing work that you're doing. It's so fantastic to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Foyne and Rachel. I really enjoyed meeting you guys. So this is, thank you for joining us. Now it's Julia. And I think, Julie, you're already sharing your screen. I did want to add one thing. When I was talking to Julie, one thing that really connected with me is I also am a refugee. So my family, luckily, I moved to the States as a kid. But I did watch my parents, as well as a lot of my relatives, having to restart their career in America. And my family, at least a lot of them, did speak English. But I watched them struggle a lot trying to restart their life in the States. And a program like this didn't quite exist, particularly in tech. So what Julie and a lot of the MVPs are doing is giving a second chance to a lot of people and giving them the ability to start a career. And so I really connected with this. And so I wanted to make sure we brought this to a larger audience. So Julie, take it over.
Sure. I wanted to start with profile of our students. Every single one of our students is in crisis. They're having the worst day of their life because their country's at war. Their children have died. They're raising their grandchildren. They've lost everything. They've left it all behind. They had careers. They had a life. We've got professional athletes, a lawyer, people who are just starting over again because everything has been taken away from them. And so we are doing our best to help them evaluate options for what they can do next. So our program, sorry, my slides are not, there we go. Our program is called Project Next for Ukrainians, and it's based on the Business Application Skilling Program. That's one of the official collections on Microsoft Learn. It's about 10 hours a week or so for the students to go through the content. It's a combination of what they see on Learn, which has been translated and given to them as a PDF, or we teach them how to use a browser translator. Not everyone is fluent in English. We're helping them along the way, but also we've figured out that being able to have conversational English and technical conversations in English are two very different things. And so they have weekly written assignments, which are related to the content they've heard that week. Topical videos, office hours that have been joined by MVPs who are fluent in Ukrainian. We hope to be as flexible as possible. We understand that some of our students are still in Ukraine, and when there's bombs dropping in the neighborhood, training might not be first on your list. So hopefully they get it done in 6 hours, but many of our students have had extensions to go 8 to 10 weeks. And so It's free to join. They get a community badge on their profile, on their community.dynamics.com profile. And we do this all on $0. We literally have no expenses. Everyone is a volunteer, and we use the platform. So we bring things in. We use translator connector to be able to communicate with our students. I'm not fluent in Ukrainian. I cannot read Ukrainian. I know about 3 words, and I wouldn't dare try to pronounce it to someone who's fluent. But we're able to use the platform to make it feel more seamless. And we have volunteers who are fluent in technical Ukrainian so that they can understand the platform and have those conversations and ask those questions. So if we don't want your money, what do we want? We want your time. And so every week they have assignments. They're basic assignments. If you're on this call, you are qualified to grade their assignments. I hate to call it grade. All we're doing is providing basic feedback and encouragement. So 1 week a question might be, this week you learned about digital transformation. What is some reason an organization might be resistant to this type of change, and how could you overcome it? And so that's just them showing that they're getting the basic understanding of what we do with Power Platform, how we can change organizations. We're looking for generic mentors. If you have that connection where your family's been refugees, or you have had tragedy in your life, you can relate to someone having to start over again. When our graduates finish and move on to more technical training, they need help with their LinkedIn profile. They need help with their resumes. They need help with mock interviews. These are things that are all brand new to them. If I was a lawyer 6 months ago and suddenly I'm trying to get a job as a Power Platform app maker, that interview is very, very different. And also we would love apprenticeships. I'm not quite confident that our learners are ready for full-time jobs yet. We have been accepted to the Power Up program. So hopefully our program plus Power Up, they'll be ready for those jobs. And so we would love for anyone to help us out, to any kind of encouragement we can give these students, because everything around them is falling apart, and our community can help them have something that is stable, help them have something that is supportive, and hopefully help them find what's next.
Thank you, Julie. That's wonderful. Such amazing work being done. It's so inspirational. Oh my gosh. And opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to donate money. So let's all step forward and do what we can to help the success of these organizations. Anything else you want to add, V?
I was going to say, after this call, starting next week, we will be highlighting these organizations on our LinkedIn page as well. So in case you feel like you missed out on a link or something, we will be resharing that in our social platforms. And if you all know of other organizations or individuals in our community doing something like this, please do share their information over to us so we can make sure we highlight them as well.
Julie, could you drop those URLs into the chat? Just want to make sure that all of the nonprofit presenters, their details are in the chat so it's easy for folks to access them.
Absolutely. So the 3 links are how to find me because you want to be a volunteer. The second link is some of our graduates and their stories, but those are mostly in Ukrainian. And then when you've got someone you know who could use what we're offering, that's where they go to sign up. So I'll include those in chat.
Thank you. My idea of a good time, genuinely, is resume reviewing. So I'm going to reach out to you about that. That email, I get thrown off by quirky email formats, but that's the whole email, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thank
that training is a top level domain.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Let me just pull up what we're covering on our next session to get everybody excited. For anyone who covers ERP as well, please know that we have a monthly ERP community call as well that runs the second Wednesday of every month. So the CRM community call is the first Wednesday and ERP is the second Wednesday. Dwayne, maybe you could drop that event invitation into the chat, please. And next month, we are hearing from Marie, who's going to be talking about the pros and cons of putting marketing automation in front of Dynamics 365 sales. And we're going to get an awesome Dynamics 365 Contact Center 101 session from Chris Goodwill. We, from all the polls that have come up in the last few sessions, lots of requests for, I cover a certain area and I don't cover another. So I'd love even just an introductory level to that content. Thank you to all of our speakers today and everyone who's been so engaged in the chat. It's been wonderful to have you all here. And as Dwayne said, the recording and the slides will all be available on LinkedIn from Monday. So that's Dynamics 365 community if you're not all following it on LinkedIn already. Hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and we will see you all next month. Bye, everybody.